Kat Baillie here, and nice to see you on the Inspired Connections podcast show. I've got the lovely Tara Nash with me, but we're here today to talk about the holiday season. Everybody's going crazy. Thanksgiving, got Christmas, got all these events coming up, but it's a really emotional time for people in grief. Tara's going to come in and tell us some top tips on how to deal with the holiday season. What do you do, Tara, in your house? How do you deal with grief and the holiday season?
Well, I guess it, has varied over the years. It's definitely, I'm here in London, so we don't celebrate Thanksgiving, but Christmas is not an easy time. And anybody that's lost somebody close to them, it's like all these really happy occasions, are sort of slightly mired by the sadness and the people that we've lost. And so there have honestly been years where I've completely opted out of Christmas and I've decided to take myself on a retreat in India and be on my own. And I think for people to know that if they are really struggling, a change of location can be very beneficial. And yes, we want to kind of feel our grief, but also we want to dose it as well, and think about how you're going to take care of yourself. And that might be literally saying no, thank you, to certain invitations if they feel like triggering or too tiring or too much. It might be, okay, I'm going to get out the house each day and take a walk. The days are getting shorter and shorter. Even if we're not grieving, you feel like you want to be in bed a lot of the time at this time of year. So getting some fresh air and getting some daylight of what you can. And we talked about animals, maybe spending some time with animals. And even if you don't have your own animal, there are websites now like borrowmydoggy.com where you can you can offer to take somebody else's dog for a walk. Or maybe you want to put on some comedy, watch your favorite comedy show or find a comedian that you like, try and muster up some laughter.
I've got a lovely one, a lady that I know in her early stages of grief. The first 3 years ignored Christmas. She said, I'm never going to celebrate the holidays, I can't face it. Her son was a cyclist, and on year 3 I invited her down. Actually, we did high tea in London. It was lovely, and she made me, as a thank you for the event, a little star out of the chain of his, and as a decoration, and the ribbon had his name on it. It was really beautiful. And I remember saying to her, Tara, that, I know you're feeling really bad now, and it's good. Just don't worry about Christmas. Forget about it. It doesn't matter. But I know one day you'll call me and say, you're absolutely fine again. And she said, no, it'll never happen. It'll never happen. And 4 years later, she calls me and said, it's the first time I've celebrated Christmas. I've really got joy again. And so it is a process, at different levels of grief. Different people are going to experience different things. It will evolve. Some people think you're never going to celebrate it again, and you will. But there are lots of little things that you can do to kind of bring an aspect of them into Christmas, isn't there, or Thanksgiving?
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember, interviewing Elizabeth Boisson from Helping Parents Heal, and she, mentioned how you can lay a place for your person at the table and put their photograph there. Or maybe their favorite thing to eat on Christmas Day was, a certain cake or pudding, and you make that and you eat it for them. And some people have said that those in spirit really love us to do that.
Yeah, as well. And I've heard some people get a little gesture present and put it under the tree, or they address presents to other people from that loved one.
Oh,
and
wow.
They have to guess kind of what that person's bought them for Christmas and that kind of thing. And what I love, Tara, is that will sometimes then come up in a reading where they say, oh, I know that so-and-so bought a present from me this year, and I know this is what I got you. And then it adds to the kind of fun that you realise that they've seen it, that they're aware of it. And that's kind of cool.
Very cool. Yeah, and it might be lighting a candle and saying a few words to them, and it can be a private thing too, or remembering them with a cheers at the table, and
writing a card or a letter to them, a lovely memory that you remember, or recalling that around a dinner table could be quite a sweet way.
Just knowing that that it is emotional, and it's not always easy. And sometimes I think the anticipation of it, the run up to it, can often end up feeling more overwhelming and stressful. And then you get to the actual day, and you're surprised, and you actually have a nice time, and it's not so bad. But I think
Yeah,
really
sometimes we put
plan.
more pressure on ourselves. You mean we like literally build it and build it and build it, and then the actual day comes, and it's not that bad.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not comfortable, but it's not bad.
Yeah, and maybe decide, like, if you have got to go to some specific event, perhaps there's somebody that you could, have on call to text in difficult moments, like I'm really struggling, or if you have to take yourself away and have a quiet moment, and just tell people that you're around, that you may have to, like, take some time out because it gets too much.
Yes,
And
being able
it's
to take breaks very important, isn't it? It's
take
like
breaks.
don't have pressure. If you feel like you need to cry and you feel embarrassed to do it in front of everybody, take yourself up to the bathroom, go for a walk around the block. Just tell people I might not be myself today. Advertise it, and then
Mm.
don't feel the pressure of having to perform or act in a certain way. How important is it being around loved ones at Christmas, or do you think actually sometimes it is good to be on your own, or does that vary as well, Tara?
I think it really varies. It really, really varies, and I think everybody has to tune in to know, what is right for them. As I said, one year it was just too painful for me. I just didn't want to be around my sisters, who I'm extremely close to, but they had husbands, they had new families. I was really struggling, I was sort of really opening up to my grief at that time, and feeling very sort of single and alone. And I
Mm.
just, just all of everybody else's sort of little happy family life was as triggering as, thinking about my parents, who had also passed away quite a long time ago. So we never know how our grief is going to impact us year on year. And it was a really brilliant decision for me to go away. And, it was quite a profound and life changing Christmas in many senses for me. So it was just a very nourishing way to spend Christmas. And I think that we just really need to spend a little bit of time tuning into what's right for us, maintaining some self-care boundaries, if you like, around how you're going to support yourself. And maybe there are certain people that you feel you can reach out to, and explain that you may be doing that around that time, if you're feeling, because Christmas is it's a very triggering time. Christmas, Thanksgiving, for all kinds of reasons.
Actually, I know in our household, when my father-in-law died, my mother-in-law found it very hard coming to us for Christmas because it triggered her the idea that he's not there, and actually went to her sisters and nieces that Christmas. And it took her maybe a year or two to come back to. She's coming with us this year, which is really lovely. But I remember she just couldn't face it, Tara. Everybody grieves in their own way. And if that's right for her, the most profound loss at this moment is hers. We can do something as a family on a different day or a different occasion. It doesn't have to be, and it happened to be that she's got a big birthday coming up, so we can celebrate that. We can do different things in different ways. We can still be together. We don't always have to be together in that moment. We can let her do it her way, and then we can have the family get together a few weeks later, or days before. And it happened to be that we actually all came together a few weeks later. So, but I think again, what was nice in our family is we didn't put pressure on anybody, and that was right for her. And we got through it, and it was fine. And we all celebrated together a few weeks later, and it was good. And actually, maybe it would have been too triggering for my husband had we all been together. So things sometimes work out in funny ways. They might not be what you expect, and they can kind of make you sort of look at things like, oh, what do you mean she's not coming? Like, oh. But I think it's really important to say, don't judge anything. Just give
Yes.
unconditional love. And grief is a very unique experience. It requires a really unique way of looking at it. And what's right for one person won't be right for another. But let's be compassionate to one another and feel our way and talk about it if it's not comfortable for us, but at the same time give people the permission to do it their way. And I think that really worked for our family, Tara. And I think that's important to sort of say. It might be unusual. It might not have felt normal or right because we've always been together. We alternate Christmases every year between us, and we all try to get together. This year, we're all getting together. So we try to be inclusive, but sometimes in the steep of grief, you can't be. You have to do it your own way.
Yeah, I think that's such great advice. It really is. And what was coming to me as you were talking about, not judging how you decide to do it and taking out the shoulds, like, oh, I should decorate the house, but I really don't feel like doing that this year. And, your whole life has changed. Everything is different. So don't feel like you have to do anything prescriptive over Christmas, and really just allow it to be your own creative expression of what feels right for you, and have that balance between maybe wanting to be on your own and disconnecting, and maybe like looking on social media is perhaps not a good idea when everybody's posting happy family photos, and perhaps take yourself off of that, for a few days, and but also not to disconnect so much that you are not reaching out to anyone, because we are social creatures, and it does help us to feel better to have a hug from.
What about the person who doesn't want to be on their own at Christmas and doesn't have a choice, and suddenly they're thrown into this situation and they feel desperate? Well, some people might need to be on their own and want to be on their own and just want to avoid it, and that's their choice. But there are things like soup kitchens, charities that do things where you can get a bit of camaraderie or do something for someone else, or participate in, get involved in a community gathering. And it might, again, be different. It might be only an element of the day or the whole day together, but you'll get something out of it. So the important thing is that you make the choice, you realise that you've got options, and that through talking through people like you or other people in the community, you find out what's available and you see if you want to get involved and you feel into that. I think that's kind of key. Music can be a little bit triggering, I think, around Christmas as well, because obviously certain songs remind us of certain days and things like that. Any advice around that, Tara, or do you think it's just a case of taking it slowly and how it comes? Don't put all the sad songs on and all the playlists that used to remind you of Christmas together. Do you think just change it up and kind of try to get a bit more joy and watch those kind of comedy videos or things that distract you, or go out and do tasks? Different, drive to the beach and have a walk along the beach, or drive, go for a nice walk elsewhere in the countryside or into the city, go look at the lights. If it feels like you just need to get out of the house and go see something, feel like you can move around.
Yeah, I think changing it up is a good piece of advice, and introducing something new, into your Christmas, and whatever that might be for you. But as I said, like, everything has changed in many ways. So perhaps also, in thinking about another tradition that you could bring in, I like the idea of driving to the coast and seeing something else, or driving to see different lights. And yes, music can be incredibly emotional. For some people, they might want to feel that emotion and have a really big outburst and cry. And for other people, that might just be too much. So, perhaps choose a new Christmas song for this year. I think what is quite profound, well, so many profound things about music, but they are real placeholders of times in our lives, aren't they? So
absolutely,
yeah, whatever you choose will really remind you of this Christmas, however it is for you.
Yeah, and not everybody's spiritual like us, but there are centres out there that are doing commemorative things together where you might sit on your own but be part of the community and be just held in a space, which can be quite nice. Although I'm not religious, sometimes our street likes to go on Christmas Day up to a local church just to sing Christmas carols. Sometimes there are people on their own and we all sort of joining together. I like to just be part of the community, and if the community are doing something, then I'll join in. But I think it's just about tapping into little things that allow you to have, if you want people around you to have that opportunity. And what's nice about that is it's only for an hour. It's not too much to stomach. It's just enough to get out, get a bit of fresh air, say hello to everybody. And even if you're just nodding at them and you're just smiling and you're in that atmosphere, it's just a time that you can remember or kind of converse. I know some people go, this will sound morbid to some people, but other people will understand it completely. They've been through grief, going to the cemetery and putting some flowers on, or doing talk to them and getting their favourite picture, or first thing in the morning, we're all going to go there, pay our respects and say happy Thanksgiving or happy Christmas and whatever the celebration is, and just have a moment of remembrance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Introducing a ritual like that. And again, like I said, it can be very simple, and having a photo with them and a little candle placed in front of them, if you can't get out the house, and just honoring your connection and your love. And ultimately that is what, we're all here to remember, that, the love is everlasting, and that they are around us all the time. And I was thinking as well, like, maybe giving yourself the gift of, making an appointment with somebody like yourself, Kat. And
yeah, Christmas, very busy time. It's really poignant. It's really important. And having that base, or just after Christmas. Actually, I've got a nice story to sort of end on. Actually, there's a lady that I read for regularly. When I first met, I've been through a whole lifespan. I literally, when I met her, she'd lost her son in an accident, and then a couple of years later, she lost a partner to COVID, and then her mum died, and she went through repetitive loss. And maybe 5 or 6 years of this, and I've been there through all the heavy load grief and movements, and sat there and held space with her, as well as read for her and brought her loved ones through to give her hope and messages of support and help and advice. And interesting enough, it wasn't long after her husband died, I said, please don't shoot the messenger, and I know that you just want to do what we call partnering across the veil and kind of staying in communication, not looking to meet anybody. But he's actually telling me somebody's going to come on the scene. You're going to fall deeply in love. He's describing who they are, how you know them, gave her factual evidence, gave her a date that she would meet him. The interesting thing is, because I forget about readings once I've done them, I see the lady a few months later or 6 months later, and suddenly I'm like, oh my gosh, you've met that person. Now, last year, I was due to read for her just before Christmas, and I got COVID on the last day of my readings. I had to reschedule 3 readings. One I did a letter for, because I didn't want the lady to be on her own over Christmas, and I wanted her to have something. But I said it would be the first readings of New Year. But what was so lovely and a real gift from Spirit for me, and I feel that it was done purposely, Tara, is the first client was this lady, the first client of the new year this year, and her husband said, congratulations, I hear you got engaged on New Year's Day.
wow.
Literally told her about the engagement, and I had literally goosebumps, and I was like, oh, I've been with you through all this stuff, all the negative, all the difficult times. Look at this, look at the celebration. And it was just so nice, Tara. It was just like, oh, I'm so glad something good has happened in your life. And I'm so glad I'm here to celebrate it with you. And she actually just said, the reason I mention it even more is she just sent me a wedding photo just 2 days ago. And she looked gorgeous. She looked absolutely gorgeous. They're away on, I won't name her, I don't want to embarrass her, but like they're away on a ranch at the moment. So I just give a shout out and say congratulations. Life can change in a sixpence. It can go from one season of, 4 seasons of the day, year in one day, and then suddenly life changes and shifts. So never give up hope. That's, I think, what our message is for the holiday season. Is like, keep that optimism, keep working together, and just be here as a community. And we're always here. We're usually very busy. I do a lot of free dens. I'm sure you do a lot of free talks as well, Tara. I've got one on the 22nd of November on my website. I've got one on the 8th of December. And I'm trying to do one monthly now, actually, as we go into the new year, to help people. And you can come from whatever walks of life. If you're intrigued and you're curious, you're skeptical, I don't mind, as long as you're open-minded and you're nice to me. Come and join us. We'll find a slot, we'll get you on, you'll see, you know, and just see, be open-minded. I think that's important as well, isn't it? Just be open-minded. Well, lovely to have you on. I'm so thankful for your time. I really appreciate you. And I wish you so much love and support as you go into the new year yourself. And good luck with everything. I hope the business keeps flying the way that it is, and that you keep meeting and helping so many lovely people. And because I know so many in my community really appreciate you, Tara. So I really do. Thank you for all that you do. It's such a privilege that you're here. And may you go on and enlighten others.
Mm. Well, thank you so, so much. And that was a really, really lovely story to listen to. So, yeah, bless. Yeah. All right. Bye, everybody. Bye.